Now we move on to the last part of the conference. A summary of all the papers in the conference and also vote of thanks by Dr. Rajshree, the director of the center. Rajshree ji, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Namaskaram. And after that pravaha from Professor K.S. Kannan, we are still in that kind of a stupor, intoxication of Rasananda, but duty calls. So I will go ahead with the summing up. It is said that when we are in a state of bliss, we never realize the passage of time. This sums up our two-day national conference on Hindu aesthetics. Though technically the summing up and vote of thanks are two different functions, I would like to combine some parts of the two. For being in the conference and offering gratitude for being there seem concomitant and inseparable. Let me commence with the concept note released by the Indic Academy in the call for papers, which was highlighted by Sri Harikiranji, founder of Indic Academy, in his welcome address. Hindu aesthetics are the distinct ideas of viewing, creation, reception, and appreciation of beauty in the worldview regarding nature, cosmos, fine and useful arts, lifestyle, and culture rooted in Hindu cultural complex, which includes Vedic, folk, and forest dweller components. Sri Hariji pointed out the importance of regular events on different aspects of the Hindu tradition and enumerated an impressive list of conferences conducted so far since the inception of the Academy and those to come in this year. As one changemaker remarked, I always wondered why somebody doesn't do something about that, and then realized I was that somebody. We cannot thank you enough, Harikiranji, for this pioneering initiative, the dire need of the hour. You give us courage to say we are Hindu. No mean task that. Professor Nagaraj Paturi, convener of the conference, set the tone with his opening statement that rishis are considered kalakars of the highest order, for aesthetics is intertwined with our Sanatana Dharma. The interconnectedness of our Shastras bring forth a template for holistic growth of a Hindu. Professor Paturi's insistence on authenticity of fact and resource, a hallmark of a true researcher, has no doubt been a great learning experience for all the stakeholders of this event. On behalf of the presenters, I would like to express our deepest gratitude to Professor Paturi for meticulously scrutinizing each of the papers and giving direction and substance to the same. Address by Chief Guest on Hindu Alankara by Dr. Padma Subramaniam, wherein she exhorted us to rediscover and reinstate Hindu values in relation to aesthetics, covering a formidable range from the etymology of the term Hindu, explanation of terms Shastra, Shabda, Shabda Brahman, Sahitya, Purusharthas, and several more. She reminded us that Hindu theatre is an audiovisual aid for education through entertainment, a fact often forgotten today. As a concluding statement after giving a bird's eye view of Hindu Alankara as both internal and external, she said it manifests itself in different forms and in different layers in our everyday lives. Thank you, Dr. Padmaji, for being the ever-effervescent role model as a pioneer dancer scholar to bridge the gap between Shastra and Prayoga. The keynote address by Shatavadani Dr. R. Ganesh took us literally on a journey across time and space of the Hindu aesthetical tradition in India, covering all the important literary terms, Saundarya, Rasa, Dhwani, Auchitya, Vakroti, and the like. Only an expert of his stature could have encapsulated the centuries of work in such a simplified manner. He emphasized the importance of studying our scriptures in our regional languages, besides in original Sanskritam, rather than depend on translations by foreign authors. The different sections were on theory and philosophy, art, sculpture and design, music and dance, festivals and events. There was a wide range of topics under each from across the country, beside proportionate representation of both male and female presenters, young researchers and seasoned scholars, and a combination of theoretical and practical presentations. I will do a quick general review of the papers based on my limited understanding. In case of any omissions of specific details, my apologies to all the presenters who were brilliant in their own way. Cognitive aberrations in Samskrita aesthetic tradition in light of Shobhakara's Alankara Ratnakara by Dr. K2R Shekhar. It was a scholarly exposition on deconstructing an interpretation of the Alankara Shastra as not a mere work of poetic expression and ideas, but as a pathway to see the significance of dharma through the poetry. The theories of Vamana, Ruyaka, Jayanta Bhatta, Ramachandra, and Gunachandra were dealt with along with Shobhakara. The contribution of Hindu saints and ascetics to Indian aesthetics by Dr. Sriram Narayan Swami Iyer, with specific reference to Sri Madhusudan Saraswati, whose philosophy is a synthesis of Advaita Vedanta with Krishna Bhakti. The parent concept of Dhriti and the work Krishna Putukulam were elaborated by him. Abhinavagupta's aesthetic approach, Awareness is Ananda. My paper covered 5 aspects, namely life and works of Abhinavagupta, his approach to aesthetics, approach to Shaiva Darshana, the Shaivite underpinnings of Abhinava's aesthetics, and the relevance of Abhinava's analysis to Hindu aesthetics as a whole. This was followed by an aesthetic wisdom of the Rishi concerning mantras and devatas by Dr. Naveen Bhatt. He explained that Vedas are the embodiment of beauty. Our Rishis are both mantra seers and mantra pravartakas as originators of our race. Hopefully his presentation in Sanskritam on Vedic consciousness of aesthetics will be a forerunner for others to follow. Professor Paturi has informed us that he will provide us with the translation of it in English for easy understanding. Writing the Reader or Seeker, Aesthetics of Revelation by Dr. Kanchan Gopte was an exploration of the theory of literary criticism. Through a hermeneutics of self-inquiry on works of Swami Vivekananda and Jiddu Krishnamurti, she showed how these theories stem from tradition intertwined with aesthetic expressions. Educational Methodologies and Rasa Theory by Professor Kanchi Gopinath. Parallels were drawn between theories of education and theories of rasa about juxtaposing teaching methods of the West upon rasa theories, drawing similarities between each model that correspond to a particular rasa. The significance and meaning of different rasas were explained, and circumstances that facilitate the manifestation of these rasas in an individual, in both the teacher as well as the student. With the new national education policy, maybe we can find application of the rasa theory in our education system. Session 2 was devoted to art, sculpture, and design. Role of Yantra in Hindu iconography by Sri Sushant Bharati. It was a viewer-friendly presentation packed with information, yet lucid and easy to understand. Yantra schemes reveal a symbolism of abstractness, but correspond to different aspects of aesthetics and are characterized by the actions and attributes included in the lines of their outlay. Unraveling the Aesthetic Layers of the Indian National Movement, an artistic study by Mr. Anirudh Naveen. He showed how an exploration of the aesthetic layers in arts, poetry, music, dance is quintessential in understanding the incidents that led to the Indian national movement. He also explained the notion of Indian aesthetics rooted in spirituality with a quest for unity and emphasis on idealism as opposed to Occidental naturalism. The personification of the Ashtanayika based on Shringara Rasa depicted in the Ragamala paintings by Ms. Aarti Iyer. She explained how Raga in Ragamala paintings of Rajasthan focuses upon the balance of human emotions and their moods. The music vibrates between man and his natural environment. Each woman brings out the Ashtanayika in different ways. Sculptural positioning in the Brihadishwara temple, an aesthetic expression of Hindu cosmology by Dr. Ramadevi Shekhar. Having come under the tutelage of Dr. R. Nagaswamy, the celebrated archaeologist, she emphasized the elements of the Agama Shastra underlying the wondrous temple architecture of our country. Taking Brihadishwara temple as an example, she said knowledge of the Agama Shastra is indispensable towards understanding the grandeur of the structures, both at the microcosmic and the macrocosmic levels. Sacred energy, sacred synergy. The connection between temple sculptures and woven motifs in Kanjipuram saris by Ms. Shefali Vaidya. This unique presentation brought to life the sacredness of both the temple sculptures and phrases and the sari motifs they inspired. Border of Kanjipuram saris have motifs of Rudraksha, Tulasi, lamp niches, Sudarshana Chakra, Hamsa, so many which command central positioning in the saris themselves. These motifs invoke the sense of the sacred in the weaver as well as the wearer, They tell stories from our scriptures and lend a symbolic significance to the fabrics themselves, especially for auspicious occasions. I Sumana 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 by Srimati Janani Anantanarayanan, a beautiful line from the Mahishasuramardhini Slokam. This pictorial exposition was a beautiful tribute to the beautiful tradition of columns and flower decorations which inspire them. She recounted several stories in mythological legends about flowers that exist and hold tremendous symbolic significance. The range covered all the important flowers and columns which are in traditional usage even today. Swastika, a sacred symbol of Hinduism, Jainism, and Buddhism by Professor Padmini Tolat Balaram. It helped in shredding the swastika of its unfortunate negative labeling and also shedding light on its true identity across our Indic traditions. She brought out the meaning and symbolism of the word swastika as representing a state of well-being, benediction, and good augury in Hindu, Jaina, and Buddhist aesthetics. It was noted by Professor Paturi that we should consciously avoid mention of the Aryan invasion theory, which has been successfully debunked now. Our next session was a very interesting range. It was titled Music and Dance. It started with the multi-vector model analysis of hastas or hand gestures as biosemiotic conveyors of rasa by Dr. Siri Rama. She explained in an elaborate presentation about Hastakshetra and Rasakshetra. Hastas, traditionally regarded as a sign language for storytellers, are significant transmitters of emotional meaning and facilitate rasanubhava. Each hasta can be analyzed in terms of its emotional impact along with 12 different dimensions. Artificial Intelligence, Hindu Art and Aesthetics by Professor Vinod Vidwans. Highlighting the concept of Sukritam, where Brahma created himself and the world. Kala from Kal indicated calculations and computations. Professor Vidwan's paper was the most exquisite blend of the traditional and the technological, a mind-boggling one as well. His demonstrations of computed music created a renewed interest in both our Hindu musical traditions and the computed versions of it. It also triggered several questions from the public seeking explanations. An analogy of Bharata's system of Sharira Abhinaya, exploring the metaphysics of the inner and outer space and time by Sri P.L. Bhattacharya. He brought out Bharata Muni's guidelines on various theories with regards to the performing arts, the Tandava and Lasya, with emphasis on the 4th chapter of the Natya Shastra, that is called as Tandava Lakshanam. He mentioned that rhythmic patterns of the heartbeat is supposed to be considered as the premise according to the Natya Shastra, besides showing the concept of Sharira Abhinaya with reference to the Karanas. It was unfortunate that we could not have the presentation by Dr. Alamelu Ramakrishna. I'm sure it will be up on Indic website soon. Hindu Aesthetics in the Folk Songs of Tamil Nadu with reference to Thinai by Miss Mahati Kannan was based on the path-breaking work by Srimati Shyamala Balakrishnan, her grandmother, way back in 1960, which inspired so many adaptations in film music, especially by Sri Ilaiyaraaja himself. Apt that Mahati should bring this back into public scrutiny again, hers was a neat presentation accompanied by a song for each of their Thinais. An analysis of the Ragamalika Nenjinil Niraindidum by Dr. Priyashri Rao. She highlighted the use of the term Ranjani with its different prefixes, each with its varied swara structures, but the name embedded in the Sahitya itself, also illustrated by soulful singing. She touched upon the different types of Ranjanis that exist and their prayogas. The 4th session was labeled Festivals and Events. We had the aesthetic Brahmananda in the Varkari Kirtan by Miss Raseshwari Chonkar, which brought out the multi-layering of the Varkari tradition of Maharashtra, where song and dance reverberate with the Shringara, Madhurya, and Bhakti Rasas expressed by the sons in their Abhangas. Brahmananda Live is what we could call it. She also had some clippings from the Varkari singing the Kirtan as audiovisual presentations. Rasanubhava by Kanchi Varadaraja Perumal Brahmotsavam by Miss Vaijayanti Chakravarti. The elaborate aspects of the aesthetics of the Archita form therein, as based on the Pancharatra Agama, were beautifully brought out by the speaker. the significance of utsavas as per our culture, and the experience of being a part of it. The music, the dance, the sights, it's an experiential path to self realization, which fortunately all of us enjoy till today. This is a brief summary to the best of my capacity of the 2 day conference. And on behalf of all the presenters, I would like to thank Shri Harikiranji, Professor Paturi, to our esteemed guests who enlightened us yesterday and today, and to all the viewers who have tuned in and are listening to the 2 day conference. On behalf of the Center of Excellence, Art and Culture, Sri Shankarlal Sundarbai Shashwan Jain College for Women, we are extremely happy to have been given the go-ahead by our secretary, Sri Abhay Shishimal Jain ji, and our principal, Dr. S. Padmavati, to collaborate on this wonderful conference with Indic Academy. We look forward to more of the same, because we do need such endeavors to take our Hindu view of life forward. Thank you so much. And finally, our great gratitude to the Almighty who has made all this happen in this Punya Bhumi, which we call Bharat. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rajshree ji. In behalf of Indic Academy, I thank our founder, Sri Harikiranji, who incessantly brings in newer and newer ideas for more and more conferences. I invite all of you to our future conferences also. Our next immediate conference is going to be on Hinduism and modern psychology. We'll send you across invitations for attending the conference. And those of you who are interested in the connections between Hinduism and modern psychology, please do send your abstracts, please do send your papers, please do send your statements of interest to us. We'll please visit our Indic Academy website, where we'll be making more and more future announcements for future conference. And all the panelists have been on a WhatsApp group throughout the organization of this conference, and they all know that this conference would not have been possible without the day and night toiling by our office executives, Sri V. Srinivas ji and Sri Koti Ram Prasad ji, both of them. They are the actually Sutradharas, we can say.
My apologies, sir. My apologies. I had written it down and I missed it. My apologies for leaving out by mistake the services of Mr. Koti Brahma Prasad and Srinivas ji. They have done a wonderful work of coordinating with all of us across time zones. So honestly, my apologies and a big thank you to both of them.
No, not necessary. But I thank your assistant also. I do not know her name. Your centers.
Yes, Mrs. Srividya, Ms. Mahati, and Ms. Reeti. All three of them have worked on this.
Okay, so all the three assistants of you who have contributed to the organization of this conference. And we were heartened by a voluntary offer by Dr. Yogini Deshpande, the chief editor of our Indic Academy online magazine called Indic Today. She joined our WhatsApp group and invited all the panelists to contribute papers, and she volunteered to take up the papers for Indic Today publication. All the papers will be published, and we are going to come up with a proceedings publication also, a publication of proceedings of the conference. Unless a paper is of a very low quality, most of the papers will be included in the conference proceedings as a publication with a separate foreword and introduction, and connecting these ideas as Hindu aesthetics ideas. And some of the audience have asked if participation certificates will be given to them. Uh, our procedure has been that we give paper presenter certificates to all the paper presenters. They are ready. We'll be soon sending the paper presenter certificates to all the paper presenters. But for those among the audience who need certificates, you please approach us. We can send you a separate audience certificate also, participation certificates for the audience also. And thank you all audience. Without your participation, the conference would not have been such a great success. And we thank all the members of Indic Academy and all the active office bearers of Indic Academy who have been cooperating with us for this success of conference. And on behalf of Indic Academy, I thank Shashun College management also for permitting Dr. Rajshree, the director of the center, to collaborate with us. Thank you very much. Namaste.